Hi. So a few days ago I made a video and in my own standards it came out really good, but apparently my laptop's mic was not working really well and the video came out like on mute, so I deleted that and it took me a while to get back and get the mic and set up everything. So here I am finally making videos and no one really cares about my problems. You just probably want to get some good content. Here I am telling my life story that no one really cares about. But anyway, I'm just feeling authentic right now and why not? I'll just do it. So yeah, the video that I was making was about how astral projection and going out of body constantly helps me in my own day-to-day life. And I think I'll make a series about this whole subject because there's a lot to it. There's a lot of really good ups and I'm just looking for the right word to express my uh, idea for this whole thing, but there's a lot of benefits for going out of body, and one of the biggest ones that I think I noticed as a kid when I started doing this, more of like not knowingly, but I started getting out of body and like I was new, was creativity boost. And it's like today we're just gonna probably cover that. Going out of body and doing astral projection has a huge benefit on your creativity. And if you are into writing, if you are into painting, drawing, doing modeling, you might want to be a scientist and engineers, like you might have some like, hey, I want to be an innovator and create something new. Well, going out of body and doing astral projection is right for you because a lot of people think that you can only learn while you are active during the day, while you're not sleeping. But when your body falls asleep, if you learn how to control yourself and be awake and remember what you've experienced, it's gonna bring you a lot of benefits. And for me, for me, a lot of things started when I was writing. Like I was probably 12 or 13 years old, and I was writing my own story. Like I'm always like into that creating my own thing. And apparently, I started tapping into my past life unknowingly. I was like, "Hey, this sort of seems cool." I'm just like writing about like creating characters, creating story, and all of a sudden, I'm tapping into knowledge that the things of the about, I'm tapping into this knowledge of things that I've never heard, never saw, never seen before, and it's just like, whoa, something new, and I'm just writing it like I know about it, but I don't. Like this body, this little thing here, doesn't know about it, but my consciousness. Your consciousness is infinite. You've lived for billions of years and you have lots of memories. So for me, going back and like getting out of body and experiencing my past lives, for example, just getting a recall, looking at my Akashic records, looking at all sorts of experiences, going to different planets, different worlds, different universes, seeing new beings, new kind of planets, new kind of like vegetation and nature, different things, like things you would not see on this planet. And I'm just looking at it that way because like there's a window there and you can see the whole city and I'm like just looking at the world. But anyway, yeah, it's a thing. I think like a lot of writers probably have experienced this sort of thing when you're writing and you feel like very connected to the story and you're like, hey, this is totally you might create a character like you, because you can relate to it, you want to put yourself in the story and probably express what happened in your life. But a lot of people who are trying to write something new are not necessarily writing something new, they're more like tapping into the memories of their past lives and they're sort of recalling segments of that and just putting it into a story. And at some point, you can trigger yourself pretty bad. Now, we talk about the benefits, but I'm just going into the details of this sort, like not too detailed, but like a little bit about it. Some people, when writing the story, they can start triggering themselves, and they can recall from traumatic incidents in the past. They might have died there, they might have seen their family abused, they might have had something traumatic and really bad happening. And that sort of pain or the trauma can also affect your body physically. Like if you had a traumatic incident in the past life, for example, someone cut your head off, someone raped you, something traumatic happened, and as you're writing the story, all of a sudden your back starts hurting. You wrote a few words, but it was the trigger phrase, the trigger command that happened in your past life, and you unconsciously trigger it, but now your consciousness has a memory. You recall it, but you don't know about it. You're like, hey, what happened? I'm just writing, and all of a sudden my back starts hurting, and you don't know, but like probably you had a sort of similar incident in the past life where someone like broke your spine, someone hit you there, and at that time when you were unconscious, you felt that pain and you had a command or something going on. And so like, people who are like into writing can have this thing happening a lot. And now we have all these movies, for example, I don't know, like the Matrix, Terminator. I've heard about Divergent. I haven't seen that one, but like there are plenty of movies in this world where, for example, They Live. I really like this one. But the whole thing about the movies or creating something new is that those writers are not necessarily writing something new. They're tapping into the past lives. They're tapping into something they experienced into like 1,000 years ago, 1,000,000,000 years ago, maybe something something new they experienced in an ubi. It doesn't necessarily have to be, it does not necessarily has to be a past life. It's simply like, you have more than one body. One body is here on Earth. You can have a second body here on Earth that you're not aware of, but you can also have plenty of bodies out there in the multiverse, and you are living right now at this moment. This body and your other body are right there. It's just like split consciousness, but you can connect with that and just like tune into that and become you again, in the other plane. So a lot of people who are like, writing maybe Avatar is a pretty neat movie and experience like, something new, something like just magnificent, and you go out of body, and you just go into this new world you've never seen before, and now you're getting ideas, you're getting inspiration, you're getting like, hey, this is cool, I might use it in my story. So people who are creative, who are into drawing, painting, they can get ideas for all kinds of neat new characters, new kind of beings, new kind of environments, and for creativity, it's a really good thing. Now some of you might have heard about Paul McCartney and the song Yesterday. I think like he dreamed it up. But the thing is, like, you can go out of body and you don't necessarily need to recall your past lives. You can go completely without that. Like, no need to re-experience and trigger yourself. And it doesn't necessarily mean that if you recall your past life, you will trigger yourself. But you can simply go out of body, you can have an astral projection and go into a new realm, have some magnificent experience where you are like experiencing a whole new world. And you can have new soundtracks, you can hear music, you can ask people to play, and here you are. You've never heard that piece of song or music in this world ever, and probably no one has ever created it here, but you can go to another planet, another universe, and hear people or other beings create music, and you just, okay, if you have a memory, you can like maybe take the notes and just memorize it. Maybe you can like, you have this sort of playing by ear. That's what I'm doing. Like, I sort of recall the notes. I cannot read music at all, but I'm pretty good at like just playing around with keyboard and like, hey, that sounds familiar, and I can like recall soundtracks. Like, if you're familiar with the game Age of Empires, there are several soundtracks while you're playing the game, and I was playing around with piano the other day, and I clicked the note, and all of a sudden like, hey, this all sounds familiar, and I started playing around. And I was playing back the piece of music that I've heard in a video game. Now, if I can do it here, hearing the soundtrack from a video game, and I'm playing it back on the piano, you can totally do the same thing when you go out of body and you either memorize the notes or you memorize the music, and you get back and you write back what you've heard. You can have the words, you can have the music, but you can totally do it, and it's whatever you call it. You can be the creator of the piece or you can borrow it, but there's no patent for it. Like, the other people in the different world ain't gonna like say, hey, you just stole my song. Like, no one really cares. Out there, at least. This world is different. Don't do it here. But anyway, same thing with drawing, creating new kind of characters, painting, whatever. You might have like, a lot of people probably heard of Nikola Tesla. He's amazing, and his findings, his research, and whatever he did, and like technology-wise, he got that knowledge not too much from this world, but he was able to do astral projection and experience things out there, and take the knowledge from there and bring it back here, write it up, and like write it up, and also like construct things and manifest it here. So it's just like amazing, and like, there are tons of possibilities. If you are into creating, I don't know, new kind of content, new kind of videos, movies, scripts, music, whatever. If you're into creating, you can use like, hey, robotics, something new, like you want new inventions. You go out of body, you go into these advanced places, or not necessarily, you can go into medieval ages and you can like get all kinds of experiences, all kinds of knowledge, and you bring it back here, and you write it up, or you just use it somehow, and here you are, whatever you've been able to experience in your out-of-body experience or astral projection in other multiverses, you can bring it back here and use your knowledge somehow. So for me, like, this was pretty helpful. Like, I know that for me, going out of body was really helpful in writing my own stories, and that's like how I unknowingly tapped into this sort of, about what's going on in the world, like Illuminati and big names and all this stuff. I was just like writing a story. I've never heard the name, I've never seen it on the internet, and here I am somehow in my story writing about it, and I'm like, what's that? And like, all of a sudden I'm triggering my past life experiences and alternative lives, and like here I am like just recalling that stuff. So it's like it's pretty amazing. I've used a similar thing with music. I've dreamed it up, and here it is, like this great soundtrack. I wish I was a better player. I wish I knew how to play in my instruments better to completely get every single note, because like I'm hearing all these different instruments, like guitar and piano and drums and like different things, and I want to put it all together, but having one, it's like, how do you put it? And it's like, so for me it's like it's a thing, but I'm doing it. Like for me, I'm using it. And creating content on YouTube, for example, like, hey, some people are interested in my out-of-body experiences. We have Unplugged the Matrix, we have other people who share their dreams, their ubies, and it's like, it's really fascinating. And like, there are tons of benefits to getting out of body besides creativity, but I think I'll make like more videos about it and separately on specific topics, because like, hey, some people might not have all day watching this whole thing, so I think like 12-minute video will be fine. So yeah. I'm interested in knowing, like, how are you using your out-of-body experiences and astral projection? Like, if you go out there, like, what do you bring back and how do you use those experiences to your day-to-day life? So if you have those, please share in the comments, and hey, thanks for watching my videos. I really appreciate it, and I will try to get back to everyone. I'm finally getting back to it, so hopefully this mic is working, hopefully you'll be able to hear me, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye.